What's up, everyone? It's Bucky Brooks, your favorite Jaguar, and this is Bleav in Jaguars, a podcast dedicated to everything Jaguars. And we are going to preview the game, Week 5, against the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to talk about Coach Coughlin being inducted into the Pride. We got the throwback uniforms that are going to be worn this weekend. So everything that we see in Jacksonville this weekend will harken back to the 90s, the good old days, as we say. Not only when the Jags were kind of at the top of the world. I think in 99, they were number one seed, had it all going, 14-2 record and those things. So we'll have an opportunity to maybe bring some of that mojo into the building to help our Jaguars, this current version of the Jaguars, get their first win of the season. But before we talk about all that, let's talk about our sponsor, Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Jaguars are favored by 3 points, and the over-under is 46. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. Guys, so here we are, Week 5. We have finished the first quarter of the season. The first quarter of the season is really what we call an assessment period. It is an opportunity for the coaches to assess who we are, what we're about, what we do well, what we don't do well, what areas are where we need improvement, and who are the players that can help us get that done. And so even though right now, like you never like to be in this spot where you're 0-4 and you're trying to kind of climb out of a deep hole, look, it's not over. And it's not over if the Jaguars win this weekend. Because if you win this weekend, you have a chance to potentially go on a bit of a run where you have 2 games in London where we have historically played really well. And then you come back in a few weeks, and you got the Green Bay Packers coming to the bank with an opportunity potentially to even up your record. Now, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, especially being a team that hasn't won a game and start trying to count these games or whatever, but it's a great opportunity to start and build some momentum that maybe can lead to a mini run that helps the Jaguars kind of climb back into the conversation as a playoff team. This week, obviously, you know, the Indianapolis Colts come to town. It's a bitter division rivalry. It is a team that we have traditionally played well against, particularly at our spot. We're playing against a coaching staff that we know pretty well. Shane Steichen is obviously a really good head coach. Offensive mind, came from the Philadelphia Eagles. Did a really good job of putting this offense together last year. They had them on the verge of really doing great things with Garner Minshew. Continues to expand on it this year. Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco. He's put together an offense that allows different style quarterbacks to have success. The challenge that you have this week is we don't know which quarterback is going to play. You don't know if it's going to be Anthony Richardson, who is the athletic playmaker, the dual threat, who can make it happen with his arm, but primarily with his legs, or is it the venerable veteran Joe Flacco, who can sit in the pocket and just throw darts. NFL's comeback player of the year last year, continues to play at a high level when given opportunities as these, as the emergency sub, the emergency fill-in coming off the bench. So it's tricky to game plan and get ready for 2 quarterbacks when you don't know which one is playing. I would tell you that what the Jaguars are probably doing is they have 2 separate game plans, one for each guy. They've gone through the practice week and probably divvied up those practice reps to make sure they're prepared for either one. It's not ideal in terms of being able to devote your complete practice time to the quarterback that you're going to see, but at least they go into the game knowing that the possibility is there that they could see Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson. That gives Ryan Nielsen and his staff a better opportunity to put together a plan that will take care of them. Sometimes the worst things that can happen is it happens in game and you don't even have a game plan for how to handle the backup quarterback. Well, now they've had a week to kind of put it together, so you would expect them to play well regardless of who tries out with the starters for the Colts as QB1. When we think about the Colts, I Bleav it's important to kind of understand who they are and what they're about. when they have Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor is questionable right now in terms of whether he'll play, high ankle sprain. But when he is there, man, he is kind of the straw that stirs the drink. Physical running back, big, fast, can get to the perimeter. Does a really good job of making it happen when the ball is in his hands, and they kind of lean on him to kind of steady that offense when the passing game is not going. But in the passing game, they have some, I would say, some intriguing playmakers on the perimeter. Michael Pittman is the guy that they regard as their number one receiver. Paid him well in the offseason. He's kind of a big body pass catcher. Will move the chains. Will make it happen in those critical moments over the middle of the field. He's not going to run away from anybody, but if you're looking at someone that is a steady chain mover, the possession receiver, that would be him. In the slot, Josh Downs, guy they took in the draft a year ago from North Carolina, my alma mater, know a lot about him. Has legacy. Dad played in the league for a while. This kid is good, man. He's dynamic, great stop-start quickness. He's going to challenge the slot defenders to maintain their leverage. You got to make sure you understand where he is at all times because he also has some unique run after catch ability. He's a natural punt returner, so when you get the ball in his hands, he can make guys miss. He can run through arm tackles. He is problematic. Not saying that he's the guy that you got to highlight and underline and maybe commit double teams to, but you just need to be aware when he gets the ball in space, you got to take the right angles, right leverage, put him down. Alec Pierce is another guy that you want to watch. Big playmaker. I would say maybe better athlete than wide receiver at this point, but we saw last year he can make some plays. He can get down the field. He has speed. He has size. He's pretty acrobatic when it comes to making catches on the perimeter. So you just want to make sure you take care of him. And then the X factor would be A.D. Mitchell, Adonai Mitchell, Texas, Georgia, super athlete. They had high hopes for him coming into the year. Hasn't quite materialized yet, but what we don't want to do is we don't want him to get hot in this game and let him be a factor, but he is someone to also keep an eye on. At the offensive line, one of the better offensive lines. They're rough and rugged at the point of attack. They want to run the football, but they're really good in pass protection. If Joe Flacco's in there, they're going to be very comfortable throwing it 35, 40 times. They will protect. They'll put their hands on you. They'll kind of stone you and stalemate you at the line of scrimmage. But then when you need to, they can run the football. Quentin Nelson kind of leads the way. A guy who not only was a top draft pick, but he's earned accolades for his ability to play and dominate at the point of attack. So they'll lean on him a ton. So offensively, they are a team that you got some weapons to prepare for. You got to make sure that you contain the former NFL rushing champion and Jonathan Taylor. Don't let him get busy. Don't allow him to have an impact of the game. And if he doesn't play, you can't take that collective deep breath and then not focus on the other guys that are up. Because the Colts are a unique team that can not only do it as a running team, they can play ground and pound, but they also can do it through the air. And if Joe Flacco plays, it changes everything. So the Jaguars just have to be mature enough and locked in enough to focus on whoever's out there. We'll adjust accordingly, but we're going to play and we got to play at a high level in this game. Now, we can talk about the Colts offense, but it really brings us to talk about what we really need to talk about, and that's the Jags defense. And I think it's really important that we don't spend too much time focusing on the negative in terms of what the stats look like, right? So the stats will say that the Jaguars aren't playing well on defense because they're surrendering a ton of yards and doing those things. I can say from a philosophical standpoint, they've changed a little bit in season, and some of the change has been by design due to the nature of the injuries that they've suffered and some of the guys who've been out of the lineup. When you look at, the injury report, a lot of guys that you were counting on have not been available. But the defense has been scrappy and competitive because the young guys know what to do. And when they know what to do, man, they play fast, they play physical, they play free, they have a lot of fun. Unit can get it done. They just have to figure out a way to, and this is the number one thing on defense that they'll talk about throughout the week. They have to start forcing some turnovers. One takeaway all year, and that was on special teams, and it was on a muff punt. No takeaways for defense that really prides itself in taking the ball away. Did a really good job of taking the ball away the entire offseason and training camp. It just hasn't bounced their way. But what I can tell you is normally turnovers come in bunches. If the ball starts heading in the direction, they're going to make a ton of plays and they'll be right back on track. But the number one thing is they got to take make sure they force a turnover or multiple turnovers to give the offense extra opportunities, but also favorable field position. That's why it's important. The other thing that Ryan Nelson will probably tell his guys is they got to be able to finish. And when I mean finish, I'm not just talking about like finish games, close them out. Like, hey, you guys are on the field. I'm saying finish on thirds down, finish the drive. Last week, being in the locker room, hearing Ventrell Miller employ the guys, man, we got to be better on the money down, which is referred to third down. The reason it's the money down is because that's when your clutch players have to make plays. The ball should go to your best pass catchers. Your DBs need to make plays. Your linebackers or pass rushers, they got to come through with their best move to impact the game. So when I hear a young player, Ventrell Miller, who may have another opportunity to get on the field this week, say, hey, guys, we got to get off the field on money down. That's what it is. It's about getting off the field on third down. It's about giving the offense an opportunity to get the ball back. And look, there's going to be an added emphasis on bringing the urgency. 0-4 is like a desperation situation. So the urgency that you'll see from the team should be, look, man, do or die, everything's on the line. It should almost have a playoff feel to the level of intensity. We'll see if they can bring that, but that's what's going to be required for them to get themselves out of this rut. When we also talk about the last part of the Colts and offensively, how they want to get down, they want to take care of the ball. They'll have some risk, but they don't want to be a high-risk team. They're going to throw it more so than run it. They will run it if he's available. He get busy early, and it proves to be kind of problematic for the defense. Stop him, he'll continue to get a heavy dose of it. But they want to kind of like let their athletes on the perimeter dictate how the game is going to be played. So look for a lot of things to the perimeter. Look for a lot of quick game, a lot of RPOs, a lot of quick screens and now screens designed to allow those guys to work with or without protection. You're going to see more of that stuff as they're trying to figure out a way to kind of offset what they may not have in Jonathan Taylor. When I think about the Jaguars, and I think about the injury report, and Josh Hines-Allen, hopefully he plays. If he doesn't play, it's a huge loss. Foyer is out. He's on IR. Devin Lloyd is a game-time decision. We don't know if he can go, but if he can't go, what does that mean for Ventrell Miller? It's just going to be interesting to see how the pieces of the puzzle are slotted together as we're trying to put our best team on the field to win a game, because you just got to win a game. No matter what you have to do, you got to figure out a way to win this game. And so you got to play your best players and just kind of live with the fallout and repercussions. Finishing up, just a thought on the defense. This is a game where if you're playing young guys at linebacker, it is going to be really important for Andre Cisco to be dialed in at safety. And the reason why is because when you have a bunch of young guys trying to figure it out and trying to make calls, so many different things can go awry. Not saying that their knowledge is not up to par, not saying that they're unable to check and get the defense in the right stuff. But what I'm saying is when you got a lot of youth on the field, you kind of need the trusty vet to be able to take some of the pressure off of them. Because of that, that's what I'm saying, that you may need Andre Cisco to step up, be a little more vocal, be a little more of a traffic cop this week, not on the third level, but on the second level, to make sure that everybody is on board. So that's a quick look at the Colts defense. We're going to transition over to the quick look at Jags defense, Colts offense. We're going to transition over to the other side. But first, let's talk about another one of our sponsors, and our sponsor, Melon, the hats. So look, we've been rocking the hats. We've been going out. I've been going to the grocery store with the hat on. Everyone has been asking like, yo, bro, where you get the lid from? And I tell them, hey, man, this is my Melon hat. This is the one that I use sometimes on occasion when I'm on the podcast, but sometimes when I'm out and about, I need a well-constructed, durable hat that can, look, take a licking, but keep on ticking. And that's what this can do. Super durable, doesn't matter. No stains, no sweat stains. Like it does everything that you want to do. If you sweat it out, it doesn't matter. You put it away, it'll come back. Melon hats are the hats that you have to have. When I think about this hat or whatever, like hydro cool, because it's hot, cool you off. But if you need a little more, we got the other side. Make sure you go to the website. Go to Melon, MELIN.com. Pick up one of your trusty hats. Tell them Bucky sent you. All right, so now let's look at the Jaguars offense. And we've already broken down the offense on previous pods. We talked about how the team has not played particularly well in certain moments, particularly when it comes to situational football. Have not done a great job of being able to get it done in key situations. Every coach will stand in front of the room and they'll talk about, hey, we got to win in these areas if we want to win. Those areas normally consist of got to be great on third down, got to be great in the red zone, need to be efficient in 2-minute situations, got to be able to close games out in 4-minute situations where we're trying to run at the clock, pick up a couple first downs. And then in the fourth quarter, you have to be a dominant team in the fourth quarter if you want to compete at a championship level. When we look at the Jaguars in each of those categories, they have not been able to get it done. And the crazy thing is, it's a roster that's talented. It may not be as talented as reported, but talented enough to win 10 or more games. And that'll give you a ticket to the tournament. And once you're in the tournament, you have a chance to kind of write your own fate. But when I look at this team, man, the best players aren't playing great. And I don't want to kind of be a broken record saying the same guys over and over and over again, but it's the same folks. Now, they've gotten better because I would say the offensive line played a little better last week. But yeah, they need their best players playing well. So let's identify who the best players are and how Press Taylor and Doug Peterson could elect to start this game. Last week was interesting in watching the game with Trevor and those guys. They were very intentional about how they were trying to get Trevor off. It was really about playing the hits, putting his favorite concepts up there early and often, allowing him to get confidence by doing things that he knows like the back of his hands. Quick passes, screens, some RPOs, an occasional deep shot. The first quarter was littered with a bunch of those things. Had scattering success when it came to how it got down. But the thing that happened is Trevor got off to a good start. You had the playmakers that were involved. They continued to make plays throughout the game, but somewhere along there, I don't know if it's boredom, he just got somewhere along there kind of lost their way. I'm going to say you got to go back to the game plan that you saw last week against Houston because it will be effective against the Colts. So the game plan last week was play the hits. Trevor Lawrence, play Trevor Lawrence's favorite hits and allow him to get comfortable so he can dance, get comfortable, settle in, do his thing, have a lot of fun by doing the things that really made him one of the top recruits in high school, one of the top players in the draft, who was number 1 overall. Do those things and allow him to get his confidence early. Then you can add to the package later on. Secondly, feed the pigs. When you're losing, you not only simplify in terms of schematically what you're doing, you also simplify and reduce the amount of people that have an impact on the game. This is when these things happen in terms of we're going to feed the pigs. We're going to make sure that the best players get the ball at all times. The pigs, to me, right now are Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. on offense. Last week, it wasn't a coincidence. 12 targets for Christian Kirk, 9 targets for Brian Thomas Jr. Man, had my brothers, man, let's pump that up to over 15 for both of those guys. The ball needs to hit to those guys because it would then dictate how the opponent has to cover, opening up huge lanes and opportunities for others. That has to be it. In the running back situation, Travis Etienne is the starter. And I know this. Last 2 years, only him and Christian McCaffrey have put up remarkable numbers in terms of 1,000 rushing yards and over 400 receiving yards or 1,400 scrimmage yards, however it is. Those are the only 2 guys that have kind of been in that conversation as an elite multi-purpose back. That said, Tank Bigsby has to get on the field because he's been really good when he touched the ball this year. However you need to split the carries or figure it out, you got to figure it out. It is a big part of the offensive puzzle. They got to figure out how to get the run game going consistently. Went for 154 yards last week, but can get it going and allow that to dictate the terms. And the only way you can do it is you got to play both guys, and you got to play both guys significant reps, and you got to give them the ball when they're in there. So let's see if that begins to change with the Jags. Up front, I've beaten these guys up. We're talking Cam Robinson, Anton Harrison, Brandon Scherf. I beat them up, but I want to say this. Robinson played, I would say, his best game of the year last week. Played, hustled, gave effort, did all of that stuff that was needed. And then I would say on the other end, look, man, you just got to figure out a way to get Anton Harrison playing at a higher level. Play better, but you want him to dominate. And the issue that you have is he's not playing great. Brandon Scherf not playing great. You have 2 of those guys, a liability on the side. You got to be able to get it done. But I'm confident that Robinson and Harrison, they're going to play okay. They're going to get back. They show signs of getting back. Scherf, I don't know. People talk about the 4th down play and how he got cross-face, gave up kind of like the tackle ahead of the goal line. Some of that is him. Some of that is he can't move anymore. You just got to understand that everyone knew that. We've seen it. He's been the same player. He hasn't changed. So that's an indictment on us not to figure out the next person that can go in there and get the job done, or helping him at times to allow him to be successful. Regardless, they got to play better at the point of attack. Now, when we think about playing better, particularly against this team, Gus Bradley, former Jaguars head coach, is a guy who wants to keep it super simple on defense. He wants to force you to take the check down. He's going to force you to play with discipline and patience, and he is relying on you to screw it up so they can take advantage. Your job as a quarterback, and this is for Trevor, your job is to take the check down over and over and over again, to fully exhaust the play, but know where all your check downs are at every time. There can be some things that change, but they may show not a look, but because they're not really in the disguise or whatever, but they may kind of play you a little differently from maybe 3 high to more of a quarters-based thing. But you got to have your stuff ready, and you got to be able to kind of know, where's my check down? Always know where my check down is available at every concept. You have to throw underneath and give yourself an opportunity to get to the red zone. Then the red zone, you might have to fit in a tight window throw to score. This is what the Colts want to do. They want to play bend but don't break. They want to allow you to get whatever you're going to get in between the 20s. They're not going to give it a deep ball. They're going to do anything. They're going to be well coached. But in the red zone, when the field shrinks and it becomes a game that tilts towards the defense, they're going to use all the advantages to help them. So figuring that plan out is going to be really essential over the next few days to give the team the best opportunity to win. From a personnel standpoint, a little bit of a lucky break in terms of the injuries up front. DeForest Buckner may or may not be available. They have some other guys that have kind of been in and out the lineup. One of those is the first-round pick, Latu, who is, man, a dangerous playmaker coming off the edge. Got some of that Von Miller type stuff to him in terms of like his ability to sequence his moves and throw and knuckle drag on the ground. He has all of those tricks that Von had, but he's not the same, but just a really intriguing player in Latu. So if those guys get to going and humming, and then they got another athlete in Kwity Paye who can come off there. So they have some really good athletes that you have to be aware of. They're real sound and solid in the back end. They play connected on a string. And, you know, it's funny because we always talk about the team and how important the team is and doing all this. This is a unit that plays real team ball. Everyone has to fit in the right gap. Everyone has to play the coverage exactly as is drawn up on the blackboard, or you begin to have issues. When you do it like it's drawn up on the board, you win a lot of games by making sure you keep everything in front, hold people down to 3s instead of 7s. That's kind of how you win in this this deal. For the Jags, going back to Trevor and this defense, I think it's really important if you go back and look at the history. Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, they've done really well against this scheme. They really have a good understanding on how to dial it up for them. And so even though Press in his one-on-one, his presser talked about like, hey, we don't need to baby the quarterback. He has enough confidence. If we see the confidence waning, then we'll tailor it back. I'm telling you right now, man, the quarterback confidence is shot. So what you have to do is you got to build them back up from the ground level. And the way that you do it is quick game, quick passes, motion, screens, swings. He needs to see 7, 8 balls caught consecutively to begin to repair that confidence that has been lost, I don't know, for a while. Got to bring that back if we don't have any chance of this offense being able to go. More importantly, though, this offense has to finish when it has opportunities. We talk about the theme of the week being finished. They have to finish the game. Read a stat, I think we only scored 3 points in the fourth quarter this year, which is unbelievable. You go down, you look at the third down, the red zone efficiency and all those things, all those numbers are substandard. I mean, you're not even close to being a solid offense. I mean, you're down at the bottom of the barrel, and so you can't win because you can't close out games when you need those first downs. And when we think about closing out games and being crucial and clutch, the fourth quarter is everything. If I'm telling you the Jags have only scored 3 points in the fourth quarter, that puts a lot of pressure on the defense to have to get all of these stops. The unit went 5 straight possessions getting a stop. And then when they needed at the end, they just didn't have enough gas. But, man, if you're a team, we're talking about complimentary ball, and the defense gives you 5 opportunities, you got to put some points on the board. That's not happening, and got to figure out why that part isn't happening because this team is good enough to finish games. They're good enough to win games. They're good enough to finish drives, quarters, and close it out. But they're not getting it done under pressure. It takes three things to be able to win consistently. It takes effort. It takes toughness, which is mental and physical. And then it takes execution. Can never question the effort. Can never question the toughness because I think this is a tough-minded team. They haven't completely gone belly up in those things. So that the toughness is there. The execution has been the part that has kind of victimized the Jags. If they can fix the execution, it'll give them a chance to win. Look, man, when I went to West Point and went to Army and saw them practice on a personal project just to kind of see how they get down, they talked about effort, toughness, execution. You got to be able to have all those things to be able to win consistently at a high level. The Jags have some of those things. They haven't had the last key part of that puzzle, which is the execution. But if they get that right, then they have an opportunity to get some wins. Let's now talk about another sponsor, Cherry Bundy. So Cherry Bundy. So if you are someone who like works out, you get after it, man, you're really making it happen, trying to be like trying to channel the inner athlete, the former athlete that you want to operate at a world-class level. Cherry Bundy can help you do that. We talk about this tart cherry juice and what it'll do, anti-inflammatory. It'll help bring you back. It'll help improve your sleep. You'll just feel better and be ready to attack the day after a hard workout because of what Cherry Bundy does for you. When we think about how many people have tapped into the science and what this does, 10 of the last 11 Super Bowl champions have Cherry Bundy there. We think about Power 4 football and how they dominate the top levels of college football. 66 of 67 teams use Cherry Bundy. Hey, man, if you want to be elite, like I feel like I'm elite, you need to get on this Cherry Bundy. Make sure you check it out. You can check it out on Amazon. You can go to the website, all of that, cherrybundy.com. Make sure you get a little bit of this to pay off our sponsor. Finally, so this is Legends Weekend in Jacksonville. So it's legends because that's what the NFL dubs all their players. They're all viewed as legends. And so I'm excited about that because I'm going to be in the building, see some of my former teammates. It is always great to be a part of legendary stuff, but the legendary stuff that's really going to happen this weekend is Coach Coughlin going into the Pride. I can say this, having spent 96 and 97 with the Jaguars, Coach Coughlin was very impactful on my playing career, was very impactful on my post-playing career, and really impactful for me now as someone who coaches high school ball. And I can tell you, as a youngster, I didn't quite understand all of the things that went along with his philosophy and some of the little things that he harped on. But as a more mature adult and as someone who is tasked with leading young people, I see the value in what he was doing. And the takeaway, and I'm hoping that there's a carryover between some of the stuff that he always talked about and what we see this weekend, but he was always big on attention to detail. Make sure you do the little things right. How you do anything is how you do everything. It's kind of one of those things that was always around the building. Make sure you take care of the details. And what he would always talk about the details in terms of, hey, man, your uniform needs to be right. Everyone needs to look the same. We got to have shirt tails in, socks up, everyone snapped, ready, focused, locked in. When we walk across the concentration line, which was a black line that was right at the end of the walkway, leaving the locker room and the stadium going to the practice field, when you cross that line, that's the concentration line. You got to be locked in and focused in those things. And there was all kinds of signs and all this stuff around the building, but those things mattered. When it came to operating like a pro, he always wanted us to be 5 minutes early. We call it Coughlin time. Meeting starts at 7 o'clock, 6:05. You need to be locked in, ready to go. If not, it was a fine. It was late. Overall, I think what Coach Coughlin wanted our team to do are some of those things that I talked about that I learned from Army by visiting them. He wanted us to give great effort. He wanted us to be a tough team, a tough-minded, physical team that could dominate and impose our will. And then he wanted execution. He wanted people to see when the Jacksonville Jaguars walked into the stadium, man, this is a team that was going to execute at a high level. They're going to play hard. They're going to be physical. They're not going to back down, and they're going to get it done. And you saw the success that this team and this franchise had under his direction. I'm excited that this weekend we're going to honor him. We're going to put him up in the Pride. His name is going to be emblazoned in the stadium forever. And I am hoping that this current generation of the Jags hear a little bit of the conversation around the building about Coach Coughlin, about what it was like during the Coughlin era. They take a little bit of that, add it to their own values and a way of going about it, and they find a way to be successful on alumni weekend. So Legends Weekend, Coach Coughlin going into Pride. I'm excited to be there. I think everyone should be excited. And so that's the podcast for the day. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you tune in to all of the great stuff we have at Bleav Network, YouTube, Fubo. Watch all of our shows. Pay attention to some of the stuff that my colleagues are doing for other teams. A lot of great stuff that we're doing as we continue to build up this community. Make sure you come again on Monday when we break down, hopefully, how the Jaguars knocked off the Colts and got back on track before we go across the water to go to London. I'm Bucky Brooks. This is Bleav in Jags. Talk to you next time.